I think the first one is it 115?
116.
116. 116, I'm on my way. If we could have a couple of choir people come up and help, oh, this is on, and sing into the mic for the live stream people. Number 116, I'm on my way for the Martin Luther King service. somewhere.
Empty today.
There's a little higher. There's a little 95, there is more love somewhere. Here we go.
I wish I knew how.
I wish I knew
Good morning, and welcome to the Community Church of Chapel Hill Unitarian Universalist. My name is Avis Lavender, and I am an Inch Leadership Intern on the Worship Associates Ministry here at the church. Our minister is Reverend Thom Belote. I especially want to welcome any visitors or newcomers to our church and call your attention to this special note for you. Welcome, guests and newcomers. This is on the back side of your order of service. I would also like to welcome those of you attending online and note that the hymn lyrics and all the elements and text of the service will be displayed on the live stream screen. For the complete order of service, including weekly announcements, schedule, and upcoming events, the link is in this morning's email and on the church homepage. Whoever you are, whomever you love, however you have arrived in this beloved place, you are welcome here. I would like to call your attention to the fact that the Civil Rights Luncheon and movie this afternoon had to be canceled. Today is also a multi-gen service, so we are welcoming the children from RE to join us today. As of January 8th, the church is making an adjustment to its masking policy. The first service will be mask mandatory, and the second service will be mask optional. We hope you will attend the service that accommodates your personal masking choices. Masking will still be mandatory for all RE programs and those participating at this time. The in-person social hour in the Jones Building and Cass Courtyard remain mask optional, as they are outdoor spaces. Thank you all for continuing to make our congregation welcoming to those with fragile health and compromised immunity. The in-person Sunday social will be held immediately following the service. The online Sunday social is hosted by Rachel Rose and will be held at 1 o'clock. The Zoom link is in the weekly announcements and in the Sunday's morning email. Please turn off or silence any cell phones during the service to maintain a worshipful experience. The Within These Walls is presented by Mary LeMay.
Good morning. My name is Mary LeMay, and I am a member of the church's caring ministry. Have you received a card from the caring ministry after you or a family member have been ill, or that maybe a loved one has died? Maybe you have received some meals or a ride to an appointment from a caring ministry member while you recovered from surgery. Or we lent you a caring quilt, lovingly made by one of the wonderful UU quilters. We do these sorts of things regularly. Also, in partnership with Reverend Thom, our ministry provides listening and emotional support visits to congregational members who are hospitalized or homebound, and memorial service receptions upon request. Although the caring ministry has a core group who provide these services, we would like to give the whole congregation the opportunity to live out the part of our church's mission statement of giving support and care to each other. Would you like to provide a meal, a ride, or help out at a memorial reception? Members of the caring ministry will be tabling after the service over in the community room to help you sign up for one of these tasks, and we'll be happy to give you more information about our ministry. That doesn't mean you have to join the committee and come to meetings, okay? Just maybe provide a meal or a ride or an hour or two of service at a reception. Thank you for considering helping the caring ministry serve our congregation.
Please stand and body your spirit for our opening hymn, number 153, Oh, I Woke Up This Morning. You will find this in your gray hymnal.
walking and talking with my mind, and it was state of freedom, walking and talking with my mind, and it was state of freedom, walking and talking with my mind, and it was state of freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. I was singing and praying with my mind, and it was state of freedom, singing and praying with my mind, and it was state of freedom, singing and praying with my mind, and it was state of freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah, hallelujah. Oh, I woke up this morning with my mind, and it was state of freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind, and it was state of freedom. Woke up this morning with my mind, and it was state of freedom. Hallelujah, hallelujah,
As we begin our service, let us hear the words by Reverend Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. We are caught in an inescapable network of mutuality, tied to a single garment of destiny. Injustice everywhere is a threat to justice everywhere. There are some things in our social system to which all of us ought to be maladjusted. Hatred and bitterness can never cure the disease of fear. Only love can do that. We must evolve for all human conflict a method which rejects revenge, aggression, and retaliation. The foundation of such a method is love. We must pursue peaceful ends through peaceful means. We shall hew out a mountain of despair, a stone of hope. Come, let us worship together. You will find the words for our chalice lighting in your order of service. If you wish to do so, please join me in reading them. We light this chalice to celebrate Unitarian Universalism. This is the church of the open mind. This is the church of the helping heart. This is the church of the helping hands.
Somebody, as I pass along, if I can cheer somebody with a word or a song, if I can show somebody they are traveling wrong, then my living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be, if I could have my duty as a person ought, if I can bring back beauty to a world abroad, if I can spread love's message that the Masters taught, then my living shall not be in vain. Then then my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. Then my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain. If I can help somebody as I pass along, then my living shall not be in vain. No, my living shall not be in vain.
Good morning. My name is Marion Hirsch, and I am the Director of Religious Education here at the Community Church. And today we are honoring the birthday of Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. And tomorrow is the national holiday in his honor. And when we honor his leadership, we are not only honoring his leadership of the civil rights movement in the 1950s and 1960s, but we are also honoring the thousands and thousands of Black Americans who worked alongside of him, people whose names we don't know, who took enormous risks to dismantle segregation in the South. When Thom and I were talking about what stories to share today, we wanted to lift up the stories of children and teenagers, young people who participated in the civil rights movement and made this world that we live in, which is not perfect and where there is still a lot of work to do, much more just and fair than it was. The story I want to share with you is a story of the Birmingham Children's March, which happened in 1963, which was 60 years ago this spring. Birmingham, Alabama was probably the most segregated, worst city in the South for mistreatment of our African American citizens. The Ku Klux Klan was really strong there. The businesses were not wanting African Americans to come and sit in restaurants, to use restrooms, to play in parks. And the people and the civil rights leaders in Birmingham wanted to desegregate the city. And they knew that the only way to desegregate the city was to create an enormous disruption. And this is something that we have to understand about the civil rights movement, is when things are unjust and wrong, they don't just change because it's the right thing to do. They change because people cause huge disruptions which make it impossible for things to continue the way they were. So in Birmingham, they were planning to boycott the downtown businesses, the black people of the town. They were planning to march in the streets. They were planning on nonviolent civil disobedient protest, which would end them up in jail. And they were wanting to have thousands of people in the streets. That was their plan. And they started to work on it, and at the beginning, a few people were willing to be arrested, including Dr. King. But then, the white leaders of Birmingham, knowing that this disruption was possible and not wanting to desegregate the town, decided to change the rules. So they made it illegal to march, and when people were put in jail for marching, instead of staying for a couple of days, a week, they were put in jail for 6 months. And when they were put in jail, the only way they could get out before 6 months was to pay a terribly high bail fine, which the poor people of Birmingham could not afford, and the Civil Rights Bail Fund couldn't afford. So they were holding church meetings, and they were saying, we need volunteers to protest in the street, to be willing to be arrested, and hardly anyone volunteered. Hardly any of the black citizens of Birmingham volunteered. And they said, if we volunteer to do this, we'll lose our jobs. If we're in jail for 6 months, we will not be able to provide for our families. We will lose our houses. We will lose our cars. This is a risk we cannot take. And the civil rights leaders, they were hoping that they would be able to desegregate the town, and then they thought, this plan in Birmingham is not going to work. And Dr. King was thinking of leaving to see if he could try somewhere else. They asked for volunteers one more time, and all of a sudden, the teenagers and children who had been coming to the meetings and learning about nonviolent protest in the civil rights movement and listening to Dr. King, one by one they began to stand up and they say, we'll protest, we'll march, we'll go to jail. And of course their parents and teachers and Dr. King and the other civil rights leaders were afraid and appalled, and they said, no. We can't have children going to jail. I mean, this is one of the most vicious cities in the South, where the police were extremely violent and terrible to black people. And the kids said, we can afford to be in jail for 6 months. We want to stand up for our community. We want to stand up for our parents. So finally, the leaders agreed to let them try. And they started their march on May 2nd, 1963. They met in the 16th Street Baptist Church. They learned how to do nonviolent protest. They sang together. They came out, and they were arrested. The first day, 700 teenagers and children were arrested, ages 7 to 17 or 18. The next day, 1,000. That day, the leaders of Birmingham, the white leaders of Birmingham, were embarrassed and concerned. They did not want to end segregation in their town. And so the leader of public safety, Bull Connor, decided to turn fire hoses on the children, which are very, very powerful, not fun, like a garden hose in the yard. Push the children to the ground and push them down the street. And then they released the police dogs on them, and there were photographs of children being bitten by dogs. So you would have thought maybe the children would have given up on that day. No. This protest continued for 7 days, mostly with young people, but as the days went by, more and more adults joined in. So this was very embarrassing. The President of the United States was concerned. the leaders of Birmingham, no one was shopping in the downtown shopping district. Things were terrible. And finally, they decided to negotiate, the white leaders, with the civil rights leaders, including Dr. King, and they said, if you will stop this protest, which is embarrassing us in front of the whole world, we will end segregation in this town. And Dr. King was in jail at that time. He'd been arrested for a second time. And he said, we will end it if you will release all of these children out of jail, and if you will end segregation in Birmingham. And that's what happened. And the thing is that was very good for the city of Birmingham, and those were people in Birmingham standing up for themselves. But it turns out that that was a turning point in the civil rights movement, because the whole world saw those pictures of that terrible thing that was happening. And the President of the United States asked for a National Civil Rights Act to be passed, which was passed the next year, which made it illegal for segregation everywhere in the country. So we remember the many people whose names we don't know who made this freedom possible for us. And we also need to remember that we should be ready to step up for our communities and disrupt when we are asked. Thank you.
Thank you, Marion. Before I tell my story, I want to invite us to sing. We are going to sing number 149, which is Lift Every Voice and Sing. This is a very, very important song. This is the African American national anthem. And so as we sing it, I invite us to sing it with reverence and to sing it with pride and with gratitude. So I invite us to rise in body or in spirit and join together in singing out number 149, Lift Every Voice and Sing. So a few minutes ago, Marion told us about the Birmingham Children's March and about how that was a turning point in the civil rights movement that was led in the street by hundreds, by thousands of children. And Marion said, many of whose names we don't remember. And I'm going to tell you about another turning point a few years earlier in the civil rights movement, and about how that turning point was played out even early here in Chapel Hill. And I'm going to tell a story about 9 young people whose names we do remember. I'm going to say their names, the names of the Chapel Hill 9, and after each one, I'm going to say their age. And as I read their ages, I invite you to think maybe that age is a little bit older than you are now. Maybe it's a little younger than you are now. Maybe you are that age. Maybe you know somebody that age. And so I want to read the 9 names of the Chapel Hill 9. They are Harold Foster, age 18, William Curitan, age 18, Albert Williams, age 16, David Mason Jr., age 17, John Farrington, age 17, Earl Greer, age 16, Clarence Merritt Jr., age 17, James Merritt, age 16, and Douglas Clyde Perry, age 17. 9 youth, all between the ages of 16 and 18. And on February 28th, 1960, right here in Chapel Hill, these 9 youth, these 9 young people organized a sit-in at a restaurant on Franklin Street to protest the inhumanity of segregation. In 1960, Chapel Hill was a segregated town. If you were African American, you were only allowed to live in African American neighborhoods. If you were African American, you could only go to school with other African Americans. The 9 students I named went to Lincoln High School here in Chapel Hill, which was the school for black students. Chapel Hill High School was a whites-only school in 1960. In 1960, only white students were allowed to play on the UNC basketball team. African Americans were not allowed to play sports at the university. And in 1960, many restaurants in Chapel Hill were whites only. And in theaters, you could only sit on the lower level if you were white. Whites only sat on the lower level, and African Americans were only allowed to sit in the balcony. So on February 28th, 1960, 9 youth from Lincoln High School led Chapel Hill's first sit-in. They went and sat at a booth in the Colonial Drugstore on Franklin Street. That's now the building where the West End Wine Bar is, and right out front, if you go on next time you're on Franklin Street, there is a memorial and a marker, a historical marker celebrating those 9, and their names are written there, and there's a picture of them as well. They had gotten the idea to do the sit-in because earlier that month, 4 weeks earlier, on February 1st, 1960, 4 African American students at North Carolina A&T University sat in at a Woolworth lunch counter in Greensboro, North Carolina. And this made national news. We would say now that what they did went viral, but that probably that we wouldn't say that back then. News of the sit-in spread all around the country and launched sit-in movements across the entire South. Sit-ins started happening everywhere, including Raleigh and Durham and right here in Chapel Hill. A sit-in is a form of peaceful, direct action protest. It involves going to a restaurant or any place that's segregated and sitting down and asking to be served, asking to be treated the same way that white customers were treated. You go in and sit down and you would say, I would like to order a sandwich. I would like to order a milkshake. I would like to order a Coke. I would like to order a cup of coffee. And the restaurant would then refuse service to you because of the color of your skin, saying, no, we don't serve black people or brown people here. And they would say, you have to leave. But the people doing the sit-in would say, I am going to keep sitting here until you decide to serve me. And what would usually happen next is that the police would get called and the protesters would be arrested and charged with trespassing. Segregation is evil. It's a way of saying that because of the color of your skin, you're not allowed to eat in restaurants, or sit in movie theaters, or swim in swimming pools, or play on a sports team, or go to the same school, or live in the same neighborhood. It's a way of saying, even more than not being allowed to do, it's a way of saying that someone is less human. That because of the color of your skin, you are less human and don't have the same rights and freedoms and the same human worth as people with different skin. But these 9 young people here in Chapel Hill, they saw something different. They had a vision. They saw that the world didn't have to be this way. They saw that segregation wasn't true. It was based on a lie. And they saw that change was possible. They said, I was born into this world, but I don't like how this world is. There is a different world that is possible. And they took the dare to do something about it. We are grateful this morning for those 9 youth, those 9 young people who I named. Just as we're grateful for the hundreds and the thousands and the tens of thousands whose names we don't remember. And we look to those people who were brave and had a vision, and we ask ourselves, what might we do? What might we do to change the world that need not be the way it is today? So I'm going to invite one of our youth, who is the same age as those sit-in youth in Chapel Hill. I'm going to invite Avis to come up and call for the offering this morning, and invite the family choir and community singers to come forward.
Freely have we received gifts that minister to our needs of body and spirit. Gladly we bring to our church and its wide concerns a portion of this bounty. If you wish to donate online, the information is on the church's website. Now we will receive the morning offering.
All right, we are now going to enter the chaos part of the service this morning. Marion has shared the story of the Birmingham Children's March. I shared the story about the sit-in movement coming to Chapel Hill in 1960. And now we are going to have a time where we're going to invite you to share your stories. And how we're going to do this is I invite you, in a moment, we're going to listen to the instructions, and then we'll have just a moment where it's going to burst out into conversation and everybody talking. So for this, the first job is to find a conversation partner. And the ideal conversation partner is somebody you do not know and someone who is of a different generation than you are. So that's ideal. If you don't quite get there, that's okay. But that's the idea. And when you turn to your conversation partner, one of you will say, "Conversation partner, will you tell me a story of some time in your life where you've stood up for somebody?" Or tell me a story of some time in your life where you've stood up for someone else or stood up for yourself. And then that person will tell a story of a time in their life when they've stood up for themselves or for somebody else. And then the conversation partner will ask the question back to the other person. Say, "Conversation partner, tell me a story of a time when you've stood up for somebody else or stood up for yourself." That is the assignment. So ready? We're going to have about 4 minutes. So you have about 2 minutes each. We're going to have about 4 minutes of chaos. Find your conversation partner and let's go. Friends, you've got another minute, so if the second person hasn't shared yet, now is time to share. You got one more minute.
The first service got quiet after only 2 dings of the... We have a little time here today, so we are going to do joys and sorrows. And when we do joys and sorrows in the sanctuary, we invite anybody who's come with either a really, really important sorrow this morning or a really important joy to come down to place a stone in the bowl, share your name into the microphone, and in a sentence or two, share your joy or your sorrow. When we share this morning, mindful that we worship as a multi-generational community, and so we make our sharing appropriate for all ages. And if there's any joys and sorrows this morning, you're invited to come forward.
Hi, I'm Dirk, and I have Betsy here with me. And yes, you could just talk first. And Betsy lost her husband, and I am here just to give her courage so she can share some words as well. Please, yourself.
Yes, I have been trying. I've been coming here every Sunday since he died. And I keep thinking, I'm going to do this, and I can't. And this lovely, lovely man said he would help me. He's a hospice nurse, and I just had hospice for my husband. And so he said he would help me do it today. So, yeah, he died in November. And I am so full of sorrow. And he helped me do it. So it's done. It's done. It's done. Thank you so much.
My pleasure.
Thank you.
Good morning. I'm Alan Spalt, and Susan is placing the stone. You know, I don't think of Charlie Cast and the word pride very often, but he was very proud that he was born on Martin Luther King Jr.'s birthday. And so when you think about Martin Luther King, don't forget our former beloved pastor.
I have a joy because next month I'm going to be turning 13.
My name is Jenna, and I haven't had lots of reasons to be joyful of late, but this week, this is my 30th year teaching public education. I teach 8th grade in a public middle school here in Chapel Hill. And this week, I had my annual evaluation. I had district bigwigs visiting my class. I had colleagues visiting my class. I led a professional development. And I think this might be the best week of my career, and that gives me joy.
Good morning. My name's Genevieve McGuffin, and I'm here. And thank goodness my husband's here to remind me. In July, my husband and I moved to Durham and rented a place. We moved from the Bay Area, San Francisco area, and my husband became sick of mind, body, and heart, and went back to California. And so I'm starting with the sorrow, but I'm ending with the joy. We're reconciled. He's back. We're happy in our Chapel Hill home, and we look forward to being here in this congregation many times. Thank you.
My name is Reese, and I have a joy that my grandparents recently came down and visited us from Maine.
We are Stephen and Cheryl Kegg, and those of you who have been around for a while may remember when our son served as an angel in the pageant, and he was most exuberant. Well, he is now the proud father of little Luca, who was born in September, and we just couldn't be happier.
I have a joy that I got 100 on my test in science.
And as we do each week, I place a stone for all those joys and sorrows that we hold in our hearts that were not spoken this morning. Let us end our service today on a joyful note. I invite us to open our hymnal to number 118, This Little Light of Mine, and I invite you to rise in body or in spirit, and let's sing out one more time.
Now we can here. Here, come with me by the microphone. Because the live stream, we need to hear something.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine.
embody your spirit for the extinguishing words of our chalice. You can find them in your order of service. If you wish to do so, please join me in reading them. We extinguish this flame, but not the light of truth, the warmth of community, or the fire of commitment. These we carry in our hearts until we are together again. Let's thank all of those who contributed to making this service worshipful this morning. In keeping with COVID protocols, if you prefer not to hold hands during singing, you may cross your hands over your chest. If you are comfortable holding those hands around you, please indicate this by putting your hands to either side. Now please join us in the singing of Shalom. The words are in your order of service.